दोस्ता कियां परेशान है
जरा कर है ना सारा सौदा मुक्या वा मुल्का विच पैसे भेजने
हूं नहीं मार फूड वाले की फोन खड़का ते फ्री लोकल डिलीवरी कार मंगवा
आला ता उत्थे कै स्पेशल आ
उन्हां की लबई हाइजीन च ग्रेड 5 चीजें चंगियां म्यारी ते सस्तियां ते नाले ऑफरां ही ऑफरां
और क्या
ताजा गोश्त ताजी सब्जियां ते फ्रूट आटा चावल दालां मसाले ते जूस सारे बिल जमा करने गैस ते इलेक्ट्रिक ने टॉप अप भी करने पाकिस्तान पैसे बिल्कुल फ्री भेजने मतलब के एक चिड़ी ने दूध छड़ी ते हर शै लबनी
उठ जने ने आप उतरा
Amar Food Store and Halal Meat, 613B Lincoln Road, Peterborough. Telephone 01733 687374.
Tired of going to the butchers for your halal meat? Haji Baba is now open in Asda. We've been in Asda for over 10 years with over 45 counters nationwide. Come to us for better packaging, variety and great quality. Chicken breast, cubes or mince, only $3.99 a kilo. Lamb or sheep leg, shoulder or mixed, for only $6.99 a kilo. Baby chickens, only $1.99. All your halal meat and grocery needs under one roof. Haji Baba Halal Meat. Find us in Asda.
Feel like some great tasting chicken tonight? Great meal deals, wraps, burgers and sides. We've got it all at Chicken Palace. Call and collect at 302 Lincoln Road on 01733 702 447 or 8 Park Road on 01733 343750. Chicken Palace, open 11am till late.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أد الأمانة إلى من ائتمنك ولا تخن من خانك. That you should fulfill the trust of the one who entrusts you and do not betray the one who betrays you.
Peterborough's community radio station, Salam Radio, 106.2 FM.
The time is now 6 o'clock.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and welcome to Sisters Speak on Inspire 105.1 FM. And you're here with Dave Pfeiffer, Medium Check. And welcome back to our show, guys.
Assalamu alaikum and good afternoon and welcome once again to the Peterborough Property Guys on Salam Radio. Hope you had a great start to the week. You're with myself, Adam Cooper, and Qasafi Sadiq, my co-host today. Qasafi, how are you today?
I'm absolutely amazing, Adam. Thank you very much. How are you?
Yeah, doing alright. Getting used to these new jingles. Still trying to work out a little bit, but I think we're getting there with it.
Absolutely, mate. What we got on for today?
Oh, we've got some exciting stuff today. So our listeners have got the pleasure of just having us today. There's no guests. They get unlimited Qasafi and Adam the whole show.
What more do you want?
I was just about to say exactly the same thing, eh? So, guys, we're bringing to you on Salam Radio every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Our show, the Peterborough Property Guys. We are live on Salam Radio on 106.2 FM. You can listen to us online by visiting salamradio.co.uk or watch the show on our streaming services by searching Salam Radio on Facebook, YouTube or Instagram. If you prefer mobile, please download the Salam Radio app through your App Store or Google Play. We are live 24/7, uniting all nations. If you want to drop in a text or get a call in, then you can do that. Drop us a text on 07745 278 978. Or if you want to jump on the phone and buzz in a question, it's 01733 602 133. So tonight, guys, we are going through some topics. We're going to go through Peterborough property news because we've had a lot going on recently. The start of the year always brings in new stuff to come on, new announcements from the council, from the government. And of course, we've got the lovely, lovely Brexit, which is still going on just after the general election, which has shaken the market up a little bit, but in a not so expected way, to be honest. So we're going to go for that. So Kaz, how have you found the market interestingly? Because obviously I do a lot of rentals, but you do the sales.
Yeah, I mean, we spoke about this at the beginning of the year. We did say that we're expecting a buoyant sales market, and I think so far it's quite steady. In fact, I was speaking to a valuation officer today. I let him in for a survey that we were doing for a property, and I thought to myself, I'll just quickly get their opinion on what they feel the property market is going so far, and they were like, "Wow, we've never been so busy before."
Wow, so it's really interesting you say that as well. Just after the new year, just with all the Brexit on the cards and the election and everything, you wouldn't have thought that we would have been saying it this year, would you?
Well, believe it or not, we mentioned this at the beginning of the year on our first show, and we did speak about the tax law that's coming in April. And I think that's had quite a bit of impact on the way landlords are starting to think now, because you're going to be taxed on what? Your whole rental income?
100% of the interest, yeah.
So I think that's one of the reasons why the property market in terms of sales is picked up a little bit, and it's getting busier.
I think you're probably right there, Qasafi. I think you really are. Because like you say, I mean, I don't see that side of it too often, do I? I see more of the people buying, but I guess you see all the landlords exiting. I mean,
precisely.
Have you found that a lot of that stock's come to the market, then, have you?
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've spoken to... the thing is, you get mixed opinions on why people are selling, and some people are upsizing, downsizing. I've spoken to a couple of landlords recently, in fact, this year, who are selling their properties, who sold their properties through myself, and they're selling on the sole purpose that it's not really worth renting basically renting the property out.
Wow.
So this is proof in the pudding, and the vibe.
To show.
And I think we had a lengthy conversation, and it makes sense for a landlord who's got multiple properties, but I think if you're, as you say, an accidental landlord, or a landlord with one or two properties that are inherited, is it worth it? I mean, probably a little, but there's probably more headache than it's worth.
I think it's one of the things, all the new regulations, because I think, like you say, if you've only got one or two, is it one of the things you really are passionate about, you want to keep abreast of? You want to keep ahead of all that new regulations all the time?
Absolutely, yeah. That's definitely something that weighs a lot of landlords down. The constant changes of legislation, with the selective licensing, and you get a lot of agents that cause sometimes mishaps. And I think the landlord, they take responsibility. Ultimately, that's what it really comes down to. So I think with some landlords who've got one or two properties, and you call them the accidental landlords, it's really not worth it because they don't want the headache. But as for the investors who religiously invest year in, year out, who see this as a business or a part-time job, I think it's always going to be worth it. Why? Because property is a lucrative market, as everyone knows, and it's a long-term investment. And yeah,
I wonder how it's going to shape the market over the next sort of 5 to 10 years. Because, like you say, all of the smaller landlords, more accidental landlords are coming out of it now. Which, like you say, again, with the bigger landlords, it's going to be, it's like, I guess it's almost like we're just utilising big corporate landlords now, almost, in effect, It's like big business, small business, isn't it? Gone are the small businesses now, it's going to just be the big landlords. So it should be more professional, but yeah, it's still interesting how it might change the market. Nice. Like you say, it's crazy as well, isn't it, about how some agents have mishaps and cause landlords to sell. They put them right off the fact of even renting in the first place. But Kaz, that follows me on nicely now. Okay. I prepared, guys, my top 5 tips to rent out your property. And part of this is as if you're going to do it as a landlord. Okay. Because whilst I appreciate not all landlords trust agents, because they may have had bad experiences. So I figured, what better not to do, Qasafi, than me and you go back and forth on this. Okay. You've got years in the rental market experience. And we put together a perfect list of exactly how to go. Fair enough. I'd be interested to hear your feedback on this.
Absolutely. We can go back and forth and just bounce off one another's obviously opinions.
Exactly. So guys, obviously when you're going to move a tenant in, the preparation is the key to it all. This is you setting out exactly how you want it to go forward, the relationship between yourself and a tenant moving forward from this point onwards. So it really is crucial you get it right. And now, like I say, I appreciate not everyone wants to use an agent, which is absolutely fine, but I want to make sure everyone's armed with the knowledge they need to get it right the first time around.
That's what we're here for.
Costly mistake, isn't it?
Definitely.
So my top 5 tips. Number 1, preparation is key. Take all your meter readings. So get your meter readings. Again, this is crazy. It's such a simple point.
Yeah.
But there's so many landlords who won't get it, and so many tenants who won't get it here at the start, and then it's a big sort of jumble of who when they moved in, estimated meter
Absolutely.
readings.
Yeah.
You know, it's just extra headache for no reason, for the sake of taking the meter reading at the start. So
Precisely.
guys, you don't want to be sat on the phone to your energy suppliers, because believe me, them calls tend to last an hour plus. And you do not need that in your
Been
life.
there, done that.
Yeah, too many times.
I kind of definitely badge for you on that one.
Exactly.
And sometimes, you're on the phone with them and you have to wait for about half an hour before you get through. And it takes another half an hour to actually explain to them the situation and get the meters changed to the new tenant's name. Before you know it, it cuts off and you're like, oh my God, you have to start all over again. So it does get a bit frustrating. So that is definitely important.
And who even knows who we're speaking to in like massive call centre as well.
Yeah, precisely.
You can't exactly call up Dave again, can you?
There you have it.
But then along with that, so what I've taken to do now, guys, if there's any tenants who are moving, say, a single letter or a property when there's ever any utilities to take care of, while I'm on the phone, while I'm taking meter readings, I literally just call up the energy company and I just register the tenant, because they're going to have to register anyway. It saves the utility companies chasing us at a later date because the tenant may have been delayed. And again, it just saves another phone call later on. If you just give them the details, and they're in, tenant gets a letter from day one, and it's easy sailing from there. But along with that, it kind of goes on with one preparation. It's kind of two-step here though, but we'll allow it as one. Is carry out an inventory. So check in inventory, guys. Again, even if it's as simple as a quick video on your phone, maybe not too quick. No, make it last at least 20 minutes, half an hour to really get in depth in all the rooms. But always take an inventory. I mean, I had a tenant just recently, literally just won a DPS case, a deposit claim case today, after 6 months, where the tenant actually absconded from the tenancy and abandoned it. It's still because they still wanted to see all the check-in inventory, all the any damages they did, and it still took 6 months to argue our case. And without the check-in, all our tenancy details and everything like that, we probably would have lost that, which seems crazy because they were in a 6-month tenancy and they only served about 3 months. And they literally threw the keys through the window and ran away. But without that little bit of preparation up front, the tenant would have won the money and got out of the contract, which is
Really unfair for the landlord, isn't it?
It's exactly.
And it reflects badly on the letting agent if they haven't really done an inventory. I think that's really important.
Oh, it certainly does. I mean, it's only because stuff like that we're able to help our landlords. Again, it's just preparation, a little bit of extra time. Yeah, it may seem insignificant in the grand scheme of things when you just want to get a tenant moved in, get them in.
Yeah.
You've done all the rest of the paperwork, and you've got this little inventory to do, and you just you know the house is good, they know it's good. But unfortunately, when things go south, that's not always the easiest way to deal with.
Absolutely. And as you mentioned, if you haven't got an inventory for the property, and the tenant moves out, and you haven't got a case, so they will always favour the tenant. So it's really important that you've got an inventory in place. I think you mentioned video. I think video is more preferred than written. You can have a written inventory, but video is visual, and so you could really see what's happening in the property. And as long as you've got a thorough recorded inventory, you've got your backs covered.
Oh, exactly. I mean, I do find the deposit places do like dated pictures, and on a written report with the picture on the report. I don't know why. I guess it's easier for them because they won't let you send the video. But you can still screenshot the video at the very least. At least you have something you can screenshot and get the images off. So any marks, any damages, anything you think that might be an issue later on, definitely detailing it. And number two, probably most important to be honest though, is reference your potential tenant.
Wow, before anything.
Yeah.
Before anything, before
you even prepare.
I mean, before the inventory definitely, but
yeah.
After you show them the property, you want to, I think when you reference someone, you could reference someone through certain questions before you show them the property.
Oh, 100%.
So it's just basic qualification questions, are you working, or unless you do DSS, of course, you get universal credit. I'm not sure if that's been discontinued just yet. But basic questions before a tenant actually, decides to look at a property. Basic questions like, are you working? How many people are you? Have you got any pets? Because this could be things that could prevent them from actually renting a property in the first place.
Oh, 100%. You don't want to waste your time either.
Precisely.
I'm sure you've seen it, Qasafi.
Yeah.
The amount of viewings that I used to turn up to when I was just hungry and buzzing and get there and you'd be like, there's 6 of you. It's only a room. And these
Exactly.
And you don't want to waste their time either.
Precisely. And that's only part of the reference. I mean, the thorough reference is so much more detailed. And, obviously that's where you really have to kind of like look into their background and see whether they actually are working. You've got to look through the bank statements, the pay slips, the credit checks.
You get a true picture of your tenant then, don't you, really?
Absolutely.
Only real way. You see the full addresses they've been at, if they're at multiple addresses, if they are, why.
Yeah.
You know, that's the only real way to get a proper background.
Absolutely, and there are various ways you could actually reference a tenant. You know, you could either I know one agent or a couple of agents that I know what they tend to do is go visit the tenant's house.
Wow.
So if the tenant's living cleanly, that's a very strong indication that they're a good tenant.
It is.
Because that ultimately is the most important thing. You know, because if they're respecting their property, then respecting the landlord and the agent. So I mean, I wouldn't solely rely on just looking at their house. Obviously, you want to make sure that they are regular rent payers, because ultimately that's what's going to be paying for the mortgage. Otherwise, you're in the wrong business.
Exactly. Clean house won't pay the bills, but it is nice. It's very
Definitely.
nice. That's a big effort, though, that they go to. It's clever.
It's really clever.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, if you're using an external referencing company, that takes naturally 2-3 days. I personally think, you know, external referencing companies are probably, you could do a job a lot quicker, which will save you a lot of money too. I think the only thing that you probably would need to do is do a credit check.
It's normally 24 hours as well, isn't it? Credit check.
Yeah, instant credit checks are instant. It depends on what level you do. If you do like a just basically on the credit score, or you know, if you want to go into more, there's various levels of credit checks. But I think credit checks are really important, because I think now what they start to do, which is going to be our topic for the second part of the show, what they start to do now is using rent payments to reflect people's credit scores.
Yeah.
So that's something that we can talk about, you know, in the second half of the show. But yeah, absolutely, I think referencing by visiting the tenant's house. So if you are generally, you know, a private landlord, then just go into your tenant's house. Just looking at it will give you an indication whether they're good or not.
Yeah, that's a really good little insight right there. Especially if you're a private landlord, you can probably do that as well. You know, so it's a good shout there. And the credit checks we're talking about, guys, these go as cheap as like $4.99 for a credit check.
Yeah, absolutely. It's literally peanuts, isn't it? I mean,
peanuts.
And the thing is, you know, that's where the tenant fee ban comes in, because that used to cover all those costs, and now you can't do that.
It did. You know, that's why it's got to be so important again, because a lot of private landlords may still be taking holding deposits as well, or holding fees.
Yep.
It's all on how you word these things as well, guys. It's a holding deposit nowadays. It really is. But yeah, definitely reference your tenant. Everyone seems nice when they want something from you, eh?
Mate, you know what? You've kind of hit the nail on the head there. Don't take people from their, you know, how you see their appearance. It's really, really important that you don't judge someone by how you see them.
Don't judge a book by its cover, eh?
100%. You know, do your due diligence and find out a bit more about them before you move on to the third point or the fourth point. I'm not sure which one we're at the moment.
We're like, it's going to be like 20 now, isn't it? We're going to break it right down.
We've got plenty of guys tuning in, so thank you very much for all those guys tuning in. Amir Suleiman, Asad Arif, Hamza Ali, Zaf Khan, Joshua Tabi, Rezwan Ali, and Ijaz Ahmed has got a question for us too. So I'm not sure if you're ready for that.
Go for it.
Before we do, we've had Shaq Hussain just come in. Imtiaz Ali is watching, so thank you guys. Naveed Khan, Rashad Khan. So we got another question from Imtiaz Ali, which we'll go on in a second. But Ijaz Ahmed, quite a good question, in fact. What is your view about property prices after Brexit? As many people will leave the UK, so it'll be difficult to rent out properties. And I think that's a really, really good question. So thank you very much for that, Ijaz.
All right, that's a great question. So thank you so much. That is a brilliant question.
Want to go on that first?
Yeah, let's go on that. I mean, because I don't know, you know, it's exactly. That's actually one of my points later on. But the prices have actually gone up a little bit after the election. So it goes to show we've got a little bit of price rise, but we're looking at rents long term, which I totally understand, because, guys, I look at the same thing. So I think it's about producing the correct product for the correct market that we're going to have then. Because I don't expect masses and masses from people to leave, but probably some, yeah. And there's probably going to be some uncertainty in the market for a little bit as well, especially in the rental sector. But what I found is if you alter your product slightly, and the way we do it, like I can only speak from experience from boutique rooms, but with our boutique rooms, even in Lincoln Road and other areas where, you know, English clientele wouldn't normally live, I'm finding more and more come. So now we used to have probably 90% Eastern European tenants and 10% English. We're now bordering more towards the 65% Eastern European and probably 35% English, and it's all on a slight product change. So yeah, look at your product, make sure you're staying competitive, make sure you're offering as good as the best is, and make sure your prices are right as well. Not saying it's got to be cheap, it's got to be right. And sometimes too cheap puts people off. So, yeah, that's what I'd always do. Just see what everyone's doing, see what the tenant demand is, and push for that.
Okay, so just to make my point, I think what you've mentioned, I think they're very, very valid points. So Ijaz, to answer your question there, what's going to happen to property prices? You mentioned property prices have slowly creeped up, even after the Brexit. Personally, I think that's going to remain quite stable. In fact, I believe it's going to increase come to the end of the year. And the reason why I say that, because I know people are worried about Brexit and Eastern Europeans moving back. I think that's going to be a short-term kind of scenario. I think if you're looking at the grand scheme of things, a lot of people have settled here now. They've got families, they're working, they've got their kids at school. So I think that aspect, I don't think you've got a huge issue there, in my opinion. Looking on the flip side, we mentioned this week in, week out. There's a huge demand in property and not enough supply. We are not meeting supply. Every year we're short by 100,000 properties, 50,000 properties. I think last year was the only year that we actually met demand. So because of those reasons, I think you won't have an issue renting your property out. Rents are still increasing. People are still buying properties. Why? Because interest rates are at the lowest. So you've got so many options in buying properties for investment.
And you know what? Another point, Qasafi, as well, is the short stay stuff. So I don't know if you've seen it, you follow it too much about like the short stay service accommodation market. I've seen it mainly in London and places like that, big cities. Not so much Peterborough. We don't think it's not common enough here yet. But there's been a massive uproar about it. About so many people switching to short lets, so like nightly lets, like Airbnb, Booking.com.
It's big now.
Less hassle, or perceived less hassle. It depends which hassle you want, because I've tried it myself.
Okay.
And you're in a hospitality industry there. You're dealing with guests there. You're not dealing with tenants, and it's a whole other ball game. And I find a lot of landlords like it. I myself didn't. I preferred the HMO market, but that's the thing. So you've got to think. So either are tenants leaving, equally as landlords leaving in their droves, and as landlords converting from normal buy-to-let to short stays. So I think it all will level out, like Qasafi says. I think it will level out quite nicely along the way.
Yep.
It's just a lot of uncertainty, which puts fear in the market, doesn't it? It puts fear in people. But, guys, I wouldn't worry too much personally at the minute. And I think, especially in people like Qasafi says, we're normally, I think the target's 300,000 houses to build each year, isn't it?
Each year, absolutely. At the current moment, as it stands.
Which is just, it's just an astronomical number.
So if you're building 100,000 houses less every year, you ain't got to worry about renting your property out.
No, not for a long time anyway.
And Adam, you do rentals day in, day out. Are you struggling?
No, as a matter of fact, I actually let 20 so far from the start of Jan to now, 20 lets.
There you have it. So properties are still being rented and there's huge demand. So I hope that answers your question. And quickly, if you could move on to Imtiaz's question, because it's quite relevant to your recent point, which was the credit scores. Mm-hmm. So Imtiaz asked, what service do you use to check credit scores and what is a qualifying score? So that's a decent question.
It is.
So thank you for that, Imtiaz.
Yeah, thank you so much. I mean, I actually don't just do credit scores. I do full checks, to be honest.
Yeah.
Purely because I want to know everything from an impartial point of view. So the reason I use full checks rather than a credit score, like I say, is just so then if a tenant does fail or anything's found that's, it's borderline fail and it comes to a decision, then it's a third party that makes that and not myself. So we're not biased.
Yep.
So the landlord's not biased, tenant's not biased, tenant's already submitted all the information as it's correct.
Yeah. And
the referencing company makes a decision based on their criteria.
Sure. Yeah.
So I find that's the best way. I mean, it's a little bit more money. It works out roughly about, I think, £19 a reference. Mm-hmm. But in my eyes, it's totally worth it, because if a tenant does fail for whatever reason and they can't get a guarantor and they lose their holding deposit, you can say, hand on the heart, it wasn't your decision. It was purely a referencing decision.
Yeah.
And there we go.
Just to add to that, I mean, when you get a mortgage, or let's just say you're getting a loan, for example, they'll base your credit score on, what was it, bad, fair, average, good, very good. Mm-hmm. Handful of people are very good. Some are good. A lot of people are average, fair, would you say?
Yeah.
So, and how interest companies work, lenders, not specifically mortgage brokers, but generally loan companies, how they tend to work is that they base your interest rate on your credit score. Mm-hmm. So, but with tenancies, as long as they're fair and they're not bad or they haven't got a CCJ, I don't think you've got anything to worry about, because the more you borrow, the lower your score goes.
True.
But when you get a CCJ, that's when you're basically wrecked your credit score. So just to answer that, Imtiaz, if you're still listening, what I would say is don't just base it on the score. As long as the score is between fair and very good, just do your due diligence and make sure the tenants are paying regular by calling their landlord. Go visit the house and make sure they're living in, they look after the house. That'll give you a good indication that, it's a good tenant. And yeah,
No, I think you covered that nicely, Qasafi.
Thank you.
So then, where were we? So, I think it was on point 3 or 33, whichever one it was.
Sorry, mate.
So, ensuring your tenants clearly understand exactly what to expect from you as a landlord. So again, they may have had landlords in the past, but I've actually had tenants who haven't been happy because I think mismanaged expectations from the amount of inspections we do. We inspect our houses monthly because they're HMOs, and it's a little bit intrusive. Yeah, but we've got alarms to check as well. And we want to make sure the tenants are living well. But I've had some tenants where they just got a bit irate with it because they just didn't understand why we're coming in so much. And I realised that was more down to managing people's expectations. So guys, it's really, really good practice. I find now I literally have a little sheet, one page explaining to the tenants exactly how the process is going to work renting with us. And that way, they know they're not shocked by anything. They know exactly what it's going to do, and there's less friction as well. Because we must remember that it's our investment or our landlord's investment, but it's also the tenant's home.
I think that's really important that estate agents or letting agents educate their buyers and the renters as well as give them that service, because that really holds you high in esteem and it really differentiates you from other letting and estate agents. So I think giving that service and that education really puts that trust in you.
Oh, exactly. And we always want to make sure the tenants are happy as much as the landlords. There's always going to be a win-win. And I'm sure a lot of landlords out there, especially the ones who are self-managing, are generally self-managing because they want to do a great job. And that's what we're here to help them do. But then maintenance checks, guys. So another reason why I find inventories are so good. If you haven't checked it already and picked up any little faults, doing a walkthrough, a few days before doing the check-in, you're going to flag up any little issues you haven't seen to, any little maintenance issues, any gutters overflowing, it's potentially causing damp at a later date, any little slightly worn bits which you do a change now rather than break in the first few days, because, guys, it's all about first impressions. You've got to think, if you walk into, say, a hotel room, for example, and it's a mess or something breaks off immediately, your first impression is, oh my God, this is shoddy.
Absolutely.
And it's just probably unlucky, bad luck. But you don't want to leave that first impression in your tenant's head. You like me and Qasafi just saying, you've given that professional service. You want them to realise and to feel like they're getting that professional house to go with it.
The biggest form of advertisement is
yourself, isn't it? Really,
word of mouth, isn't it?
Exactly.
So that person's going to tell the next person, the next person, the next person.
That's precisely it. Even just cleaning them. I get all our rooms clean now prior to check-in, just to make sure people are happy. Well, the last one we have to revisit after the break because that's actually a really, really big one.
Okay.
It's all about the right documentation you need to serve in order to be able to end a tenancy should you need to.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So we can cover that, and obviously we've got another topic that we want to be discussing with you guys. 7 things renters can expect in 2020. So, that's something that you guys don't want to miss out on the second half of the show.
Exactly, guys. We've got all the property news coming up and the Peterborough property news, or Peterborough news in general, because we've got some exciting stuff happening over here soon.
Absolutely, we have, haven't we? Peterborough has been voted, the last few years, I think, second fastest growing city at one point. So
it has, and
we're going to update you guys with what's happening.
It will, and not just the first most depressing 2 times in a row, eh?
Well, that's not overly true. That's just based on people's opinions.
Exactly, but guys, join us very shortly after a few minutes break. We're right back with you with the Peterborough property guys.
Definitely, mate. Don't go away, guys. See you soon.
You're listening to Salam Radio, and it's now time for Isha Azan. This Azan is sponsored by UK Islamic Mission, serving humanity since 1962.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allah. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله أشهد أن حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا
الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم وبارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم رب هذه الدعوة التامة والصلاة القائمة آت محمدا الوسيلة والفضيلة وابعثه مقاما محمودا الذي وعدته. اللهم آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. اللهم بك نحيا وبك نموت وإليك المصير. رضينا بالله ربا وبالإسلام دينا وبمحمد صلى الله عليه وسلم.
This Azan is sponsored by UK Islamic Mission, serving humanity since 1962.
Welcome back, guys. Welcome back to the Peterborough Property
Broadcasting
Guys.
24 hours a day, 365 days a year.
Oh, sorry about that, guys. We just like to play ads over everything here. We're getting good at it. But, guys, join us back here now.
Now 6:30.
We've got some more coming.
Assalamu alaikum everyone and welcome back to Sister Speak.
Right, I think we're back on our radio show now, guys, now. No more ads unless Michelle's got any more sneaky ones she wants to add in there.
Adam, honestly, man, how many times do I have to go through this with you?
Oh, I know. I just like to get everyone's ads in, guys. I like to make sure that, everyone can hear the ads. That's all it is.
I just realised you didn't have me on air.
You know what? I thought you were going to play an ad as well, Qasafi. That's what I thought it was going to be.
We have to have a bit of twist in our show, otherwise it gets a bit boring, doesn't it? What do you reckon?
God, if it ran too smooth, no one would listen, would they? Why?
At least we can look back at this and say, bloopers, this were our bloopers. I think about bloopers we've had on this show, right? We can make a compilation now.
We could make a whole show out of it.
Yeah, I think we'll have to put that one forward to Michelle and see if you can get like a compilation of bloopers.
Michelle's got a thumbs up. So, guys, when we go on holiday, we're just going to play you a bloopers one just on pre-recorded.
Amazing. Good stuff. Let's pick up where we left, man.
Exactly.
What were we talking about before the show, though?
We were talking about my 5 top tips, which turned into about 50 top tips. But we were just trying to narrow them down to 5.
Because we've got such a engaging audience who are listening and giving us a whole load of questions. So
that's what we love, though, guys. So now, tip number 5. This is the most important out of them all. It's not the most exciting by any means.
Briefly, what was tip 1, 2, 3 and 4, just in case?
1, 2, 3 and 4. Do you want to recap?
Yeah, just in case those guys are tuning in right now.
So, tip number 1. Preparation is key. Meter readings, utilities and checking inventory done.
Yep.
Number 2. Reference any potential tenant. Everyone seems nice when they want something from you.
Yep.
Everyone.
Definitely.
Even Qasafi. He normally brings me tea, though. Number 3.
I'll make up for it, mate.
Ensure tenants clearly understand what to expect from you as a landlord. Because, guys, you may operate a certain way to the last landlord. The last landlord may have never even seen them. They may never even inspected the property. Number 4 is maintenance checks. Do a walkthrough. First impressions are everything. You don't want any door handles falling off, any leaks happening, any lights blowing. And the minute a tenant moves, you want them to move into your house and call it home from day one. And number 5, the most important, but probably the least exciting one, but definitely the main one, is serve the correct notices. I mean, I'm not even sure how many landlords out there will know the notices because they change so often.
Let's elaborate and let the guys know out there.
Exactly. So, guys, there's many things you need to do. tenancy agreement's a massive, massive thing. So tenancy agreement, get a proper tenancy agreement. Join up to some sort of governing body like in LA, National Landlords Association. That's not too hard for landlords to do. And you get all your documents from there.
Yeah, go on the government website.
Yeah, or even the government website. There's plenty of options out there. Then once you've done that and you've got a tenancy agreement which works for you and it's all set up and it's you've got any clauses in it you need, you're going to want to make sure you serve your gas safety certificate.
Okay.
Massively.
Yeah, so gas certificate is really important now, isn't it?
It is. That is the only document you cannot retrospectively serve to get to evict a tenant. So guys, if you don't serve that on a tenant when they move in, and for whatever reason you need to get the possession of the property back, if you don't give them that gas safety when they moved in and got proof of it, you're going to have a hard and expensive battle to get them out.
And it's not even expensive. It's like, maximum 50 quid?
That's what I mean. The chances they had it done anyway.
So you got 50 quid gas certificate, and it doesn't take long. All you need is gas engineer to pop around and look at the gas appliances, the boiler, the cooker, the fireplace, if there is a fireplace, and just make sure that it's safe.
Exactly.
And give you a certificate and say, 50 quid, please.
And it's just remember to give that back to the tenant as well, showing them that, going, look, here's your gas safety certificate.
Yeah.
Give them a copy, guys. They come in perforated paper, so there's no excuse not to.
Absolutely, and it's important for them to have peace of mind that the property is the gas appliances are legit.
Oh, exactly. I mean, because guys, if you're renting someone's property, and you want to call it your home, especially if you've probably got kids as well, you want to know that not only one, are you living in a good home, but two, as the landlord. I mean, I know I myself, I want to know that my tenants are safe in my properties at all times. I've even doubt if I've heard a smoke alarm battery beeping before I've finished for the night, I will literally go and buy a smoke alarm battery and change that just to make sure.
Someone's life on the line, isn't it? So
it is. I mean,
really
chance that
important.
nothing's going to go wrong, but it is. Like you say, Qasafi, something, God forbid something goes wrong that night and I was being too lazy to change a £2.99 smoke alarm battery. So all that sort of stuff counts. And then you've got the EPC, so the Energy Performance Certificate. And that's massive as well, because again, guys, these last for 10 years. I mean, a lot of people probably don't realise they have an Energy Performance Certificate. But the tenants need to see it, and we need to meet minimum requirements as well, guys. So always make sure you're staying ahead of that. And we've got the How to Rent booklet. And that sounds crazy, doesn't it? How to Rent booklet when you're renting. But you must give them a How to Rent booklet. I don't think I've ever had one tenant read a How to Rent booklet, but you must give them the booklet.
Precisely.
Because nevertheless, you will get one tenant who will read it, and it will be beneficial to them. You got your deposit guide. So we use the DPS, so we always give them the deposit guide so they know exactly, again, meeting expectations, exactly what's going to happen with the deposit, how they're going to get it released, everything. You got the prescribed information after you've registered as well. You've got 30 days to get it over to them. 30 days. Because again, that's something that I don't think many people do. I think it's probably a byproduct, because once you've registered, they think, oh, I've registered, it's done. They don't realise they've got to fill in the prescribed information, actually send it to the tenant and have proof of that as well. And finally, the right to rent checks. We must always make sure we carry out the right to rent checks and that we understand them fully, guys, because there's different ones. So, depending on where the person's from in the world, will depend on what kind of right to rent checks you need to do.
So just to highlight, that's not the same as a reference check.
Nothing the same as a reference check. So even an English born and bred citizen will still need to have a right to rent check.
And how much does that cost out of curiosity?
It's free. It's something you just do. You do yourself. There's no charge to it. You just get as a free guide on the Gov website. You download it. It literally takes you step by step with pretty pictures of exactly what you need to be checking, and even what the documentation will look like. Because again, I think that would have been a big hurdle for a lot of people. But if you can see what it even looks like, you can just show the tenant and send it to them if you're unsure. Because that's a £5,000 fine.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. There you have it.
And you don't want that just for looking at some ID and showing proof. So guys, that is my how to get your property prepared guide. 5 top tips to rent your property to a tenant. So yeah, if you want anything like that, guys, hit me up. On the Freedom Homes page. We're always more than willing to help anyone where we can.
Definitely. And we've got a question from Shazad Ali. And obviously this is probably worth me answering. You guys mentioned certificates required when renting. What sort of documents do you need to sell a property? Okay. So
it's your field.
Absolutely, yeah. So if you want to sell a property, the only kind of certificates that you really need is an EPC certificate. So by law now, even to advertise a property, you need to be able to kind of promote at least a graph to show the EPC ratings of a property. Once it comes to close to exchange and completion, you need to provide a gas certificate, ideally before but you won't be able to exchange contracts unless you provide a gas certificate. That's also a mandatory requirement, gas certificate. I think in terms of selling, there's not a huge amount of other certificates that you need to provide unless you've got an indemnity policy, and that's your solicitors will kind of obtain that for you on your behalf if there's some sort of liabilities in the property. For example, if there's some sort of structural issues, or if there's been, let's say, a loft conversion without planning, indemnity insurance will cover that as long as the buyer's happy to still go ahead with it. But yeah, Shazad, I think in terms of selling, Adam, I'm not sure if I've missed anything. Please do kind of.
No, I think you've got it all covered, Qasafi. I really think you do.
Yeah, but obviously, of course, you need to get if as an estate agent, you need to make sure you get the ID, proof of address. Every single seller needs to go through an anti-money laundering check, which an estate agent does. It's really straightforward. It's like a reference check, but it's a similar kind of database that you go on and you just put in the details and just make sure that this is the correct vendor for the property. But as for a vendor himself, gas certificate, EPC certificate, on some occasions electrical certificate.
Yeah, especially when it's rented. So
yeah,
I know solicitors recently have been getting really heavy on what they want from rented properties when they're getting sold. I don't know if you experience this, Qasafi.
Absolutely. Just mentioning that if it is a rental property, then they're going to need to provide a HMO, the HMO certificate, the selected licensing certificate, and documents. So if you've got a property and it's rented and you're selling it with the tenants, then your letting agency would need to provide your solicitor with the tenancy agreement, the right to rent booklet, everything that you mentioned, gas certificate, everything. They need to provide that to the solicitor, so you've got it in hand.
Yeah, you even need proof that everything was carried out, even if it's just little checks, guys. I know solicitors recently on properties that have been sold have been really gunning for it, which is great because it means they're getting every last bit of info for the buyer. But yeah, just make sure you have your paperwork in order if you are selling a rented property, especially with tenants in situ.
We're getting loads of engagement, so all those guys are tuning in. Umik, Khalil, Imran, thank you very much for tuning in. I mean, people are saying, like, Imtiaz, great discussion, great show, guys. Shazad, hey guys, just joined. Must admit, jam-packed show as always. So, really, really appreciate the feedback and you guys tuning in and listening to us.
Yeah, guys, we love the feedback. We love that you take your time out your day to come and listen to us. So
definitely. So if you've got any questions, fire away. Tell us, ask us. We'll try to answer to the best of our knowledge and our ability.
Oh, exactly.
What else have we got lined up, Adam?
I think it's time for some Peterborough property news, Qasafi.
Let's do it,
We've
mate.
got to break out the new jingle, haven't we?
We have to, mate. Let people know.
We're ready for this. So, on Peterborough property news today, guys. I like that. It's very dramatic. I really do like that. So, first-time buyers face record highs to get on the property ladder. The average two-bedroom or fewer now asking $193,000 for their property.
Wow.
It's a big jump. But then, on the flip side, the immediate aftermath of the election between 13th December and 15th of January, the number of sales agreed has increased by 7.5% compared to this time last year.
Interesting. Really interesting.
And then, finally, the one we've all been waiting for, is the Key Theatre pantomime is set to come back to Peterborough in 2020.
Way!
Yes.
Never been there, but way!
I'm glad it's back, though. I've never been, but when it's back, I'm sure to go. But there are headlines, Qasafi. So, what are you going to go see at the panto? I hear Cinderella's playing, apparently.
Yeah, I've always been a big fan of Cinderella.
I had you down for that, I definitely did.
Yeah, but I'm more of a what do you call it? What's it called?
Beauty and the Beast.
Goldilocks and Three Bears.
Are you the one stealing the porridge?
But yeah, I mean, there's so much happening now, isn't it? In the pantomime, so many of the options. Jack and the Beanstalk, and you even got Shrek.
It's crazy. I didn't realise. Apparently, there was a big uproar last year. The director quit. I read on the news today.
Yeah.
Yeah, I read it on the property news. Well, not the property, Peterborough news. And that was one of the main headlines of Peterborough news. So I thought we had to discuss it here.
Fair enough.
But moving on to more in-depth news, I think one of the main things I'm interested in at the minute, Qasafi, is the university. There's been so much hype behind it.
Definitely.
You know what? There's been drawings out now. So there's actually drawings online, guys, like artist's impression of not exactly, but what they say it's going to look like. So I got really interested. So I started delving in a bit more. So obviously we're due to start building, I think next month, aren't we? February. you know. And then so they're saying October 2022 is the start of it, and expecting to have 2,000 students start off with, increasing right the way up to 12,500 by 2030. And 2030, we're going to have that many students coming in. But if you're interested in the plans, guys, of what's exactly going on, in the cathedral on between February the 4th and February the 6th, so February the 4th, February the 5th, February the 6th, they've actually got the plans on show where you can go there and view them and ask any questions, which I thought was quite cool, to be honest.
Definitely, yeah, 100%. I think that gives a bit of reassurance for people that we actually are going to be having a university in Peterborough.
Exactly. You know the amount of landlords and people from Peterborough, because I've spoke to and I've said about the uni, they've just gone, no, nah, we've heard this a million times.
Yeah.
And I've gone, no, I've seen it now, guys. They're going, nah. So I think, yeah, you're right. It's going to show and really like, wow.
I think even the directors of the university who are actually funding the university, and they basically have come on the papers and news on a few occasions to announce this. And yeah, I think this is the first time we've had so much hype about it. So I think it is definitely in the pipeline, and that's going to make this city a totally different, vibrant city. There's so much to look forward to, especially in the property market. I think the property market is going to be fantastic for the property market, for estate agents, for landlords, for investors. I think, you know, Peterborough generally, it's going to, on a commercial level, I think it's going to add huge value.
I reckon so too. I mean, I read an interesting fact on it today. So the paper was saying one of the big things they're excited behind the university coming was the fact that over the years our skill level in people has dropped. You know, so we've got a lot of opportunities to work, but our general skill level across the city has dropped, which means is one of the reasons why they wanted to bring the university was to get some more skilled people here again. You know, make it a more affluent area, bring more businesses back in. Because at the minute they're saying we haven't got the right skill set being taught here anymore to bring them companies, entice them companies here.
Well, hopefully after that we shouldn't be dubbed the worst city to live in the UK. What do you reckon?
Well,
good things are happening here, aren't they?
That's what I mean, and maybe we'll learn a bit more. We'll learn it's not so bad.
Yeah.
No, but I'm sure it'll bring a lot more infrastructure, which is probably needed. You know. But then what got me, Qasafi, I mean, I think you'll be just as shocked as I am on this, was the increase in property sales. So 7.5% increase of the number of sales agreed compared to this time last year, straight after the election, with Brexit still looming yet again. And yet we've got 7.5 times. This goes back to what we were discussing earlier, saying about the demand.
Might have been a bit, a scaremongering tactics for, from the government part, where a lot of people thought, let's jump ship. Brexit's happening, and to be fair, I've spoken to a few landlords that have kind of marketed the property and sold, who have both said, we want to sell purely because Brexit, we don't know what's going to happen, so they're really playing their cards safe.
Yeah, it's a tricky one, isn't it? Because how long do you do it for?
Look, we got over the property crash in 2008. We got over the hyperinflation and the oil crisis and many other tragedies. So I think this will be another hurdle that we'll get over. Personally,
I reckon so. I mean, I know when I've been viewing properties, looking to either buy for myself or for fellow investors. I mean, the competition's still been hot. It's still been hard to get hold of the properties, and for a good price as well. Yeah. People are holding out, guys, for good money. So it's just goes to show people like Qasafi must be putting enough people through their doors to stop me getting a good deal.
There's more than one agent out there, I can tell you that much.
But only one you need to know, eh?
Yeah, as long as they're good.
And James, of course.
James.
We can't forget James just because he's not here.
That's it. James is literally, he started as an infant and now he's like the daddy of the property market.
Very quickly as well, though.
Yeah.
Very quickly.
Yeah. So, anything else that you want to add?
No, I want to go on to your points, Gaffy.
Fair enough. Okay, we've got about 10 minutes or so, or less, I'd say. So, some things renters can expect in 2020. So, I think this is really important for a landlord or an estate agent who's listening. If you've got a property, if you've got a parent who's got a property, a friend who's got a property and stuff. Some things that you need to obviously keep an eye out for this year. I mean, first thing I want to go through is the Renters Reform Bill, which is passed through the government. So obviously the bill was included in the Queen's speech in December 19, which means it is a part of the government's programme for the current parliamentary term. We don't yet know when it will start the process to become law, but it will only apply in England. So the main elements are, as we discussed in our previous topics, was a Section 21, So as things stand, landlords can give the tenants 8 weeks' notice to vacate the property after fixed-term tenancy comes to an end. So obviously the bill proposes that landlords should have more legal rights to remove a tenant if they can show they have a valid reason. So that's not been enforced just yet, but it's in the pipeline. So obviously that's part of the reform bill. Also, it's due to introduce a lifetime deposit scheme, which means the deposit can be transferred to a property when a tenant moves, so they don't have to start from scratch each time, which I think is quite useful.
I think it's a really good thing, actually. That might help, actually, the rental market keep moving on at a good pace.
Yeah.
Because that's always a big hurdle, isn't it? You know, if a tenant, for whatever, had a deposit or they had a split or whatever, and they spent what was left of their side.
Exactly.
It's really hard for them to save up normally, again, with anything else that needs to come on top.
Definitely. I mean, that bill follows the Tenant Reform Act, which become the law last summer, which it prevents letting agents from charging tenants for the cost of obtaining references and carrying out credit checks. So they're doing a lot for tenants now to kind of ease things off them, because we are living in a more of a rental kind of generation, aren't we?
Oh, we certainly are, and I think times needed to change to a certain extent. You know, we have to adapt and survive in these industries.
Believe it or not, deposits have also been capped to 5 weeks as maximum. So that's another thing that they need to bear in mind, just in case some landlords decide to, ask for 2 months.
Well, it used to be quite normal, didn't it? 6 weeks or 2 months.
Yeah.
On the more expensive properties or bigger properties, there's more to get damaged.
Mm.
So yeah, a few landlords could get tripped over by that if they're not careful, eh?
Definitely. So the second thing that renters can expect in 2020 is the credit score boosting.
Tell me a bit more about this stuff. This sounds really interesting. I've read a bit about this so far.
So everyone has a credit score, and it's a record of how you've managed your money in the past, and it's used by banks and other lenders to help them decide whether to offer you a mortgage, personal loan, credit card, or other products. So one way to boost your score is to show you pay your bills in full or on time. So for years, rental payments were not considered, unlike mortgages. But now one of the main credit references agencies, Experian, is rewarding those who make punctual rent payments with better scores.
I love that. I think that's such a step in the right direction. Because a lot of the time, the rent's more expensive than a mortgage.
Absolutely. So hopefully we can expect other agencies to launch similar schemes. The third thing that renters can expect in this year, 2020, is zero deposit schemes. And I know they've already started, but it's really going to branch out. So one of the biggest pain points for renters is a security deposit, which traditionally amounted to 6 weeks. Obviously now it's 5, which is payable up front. There's a lot of money sitting with the landlord for as long as you remain a tenant. So an alternative is a zero deposit arrangement. So you pay a week's rent to the company running the scheme. You're probably well aware of it yourself, and it guarantees the landlord up to 6 weeks worth of rent if you cause any damage. So you're still liable for any damage caused. So the company will seek reimbursement from you if if it has to pay the landlord to repair any damage. There'll also be an annual administration fee of around £20 to £30.
Yeah, I think the company we were using for referencing who offered it was about £40, so not a great deal.
No,
not when you think it. Most tenants probably stay 6 to 9 months anyway.
Yeah. So I mean, if you're already a tenant who has lodged a security deposit with the landlord, you might be able to get your deposit back by using the zero deposit scheme. So your landlord will have to agree, of course, but the concept is proving popular with many landlords because it removes the need for them to safeguard your money via a government-backed tenancy deposit scheme while you are their tenant.
Yeah, it's actually one less thing to do. I know when we do it for our tenants, it literally is. They pay, obviously, because we do rooms, it's a little bit cheaper. So sometimes it may be a week and maybe like 10% extra for it. But then once they've paid it, they get a little certificate come through in an email. They save it, we save a copy as well, just in case the tenant loses it. And it's nice and easy. That's it, done. No prescribed information, no registration of the DPS.
So you like the fourth point, Adam, renting with pets. Now, we know that's a massive issue. You're going to be, you're going to like this statistic. Well, you're not going to like this statistic. So basically, just under 4% of landlords allow tenants with pets.
Yeah, that's about right.
The figure was 7% or higher for different types of houses, but only 2.7% for flats. So there's good news for renters with pets. Many landlords don't allow tenants to keep pets, but the government thinks that should change. So it's planning to rewrite its model tenancy contract, which landlords are urged to use when signing up tenants to remove restrictions to tenants keeping well-behaved pets. So landlords are under no obligation to use the government contracts, and they are still entitled to refuse to have pets on in the property. But the hope is that more will now at least consider the idea.
I think, yeah, that would be good. It would need a bit of policing, but I think it'd be good. It'd be beneficial. I remember renting, and I really wanted a dog.
Yeah.
I had to go buy a house just to get a dog.
Precisely.
It was an expensive dog, eh?
I mean, a lot of people charge more deposit or more rent for it, so it's a bit unfair, isn't it?
I mean, it is, because again, in modern age, more people are renting.
As long as they're well behaved and you can prove that. Moving quickly because we've only got a few minutes. The energy performance certificate. So the rules have changed in April 2020. Will change in April 2020. Landlords will only be able to let out their properties that have an energy performance certificate rating of E or above.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really important for landlords to know that. Number 6, affording rents where you want to live. So if you're an existing renter who's planning to move in 2020, or if you're going to be renting for the first time, check out the latest rental market report, which you can check on Zoopla. If you Google it, you can use the interactive map to find for your chosen location, which will show you the average monthly rent, how how rents have changed over the last 12 months, the average percentage of a single income that's spent on rent, and how long properties have on the market before they're snapped up. So it's just useful information for you. Last but not least, is the rental costs. So what is likely to happen to rents in 2020? A lot of people have questioned that. I remember we have had some of those questions earlier on in the show. So in April, landlords will no longer be able to offset any of the mortgage interest costs, which we already spoke about, and that's against their rental income. They'll receive a tax credit of 20% instead. For those paying 40% and 45% tax, this would mean they will have higher tax bills.
Mm-hmm.
There is a chance that this could mean landlords try to increase their rents, because it's a ripple effect, isn't it? Landlords get stung, tenants get stung. I mean, interest rates on buy-to-let mortgages have been reduced, which could increase the number of landlords entering the market. If there are more landlords, there should be more competition for tenants. So that ultimately means more pressure on rents.
True. But hopefully it means that more good quality stocks are going to come to the market as well, which is always
Definitely.
good, especially in Peterborough. We always want to upgrade everything here.
Definitely, mate.
But guys, it looks like we are coming to the end of our show.
Oh, mate, we only got a minute left. What a shame. Time's gone so fast.
No, we could have squeezed so much more in there as well. And we didn't even have a guest this week, and we still managed to squeeze it all in, eh? My God, well, next week, who have we got on next week, Qasafi? We've got a mystery guest.
You got me on there.
Yeah, you coming?
Yeah, you got me on there next week.
I'll come as well. Yeah.
So I'll be hosting the show next week, and I'll have a guest.
Awesome. We're checking Michelle's coming too.
And we'll definitely have a guest. Let's leave him as a mystery for now. So we'll surprise you guys hopefully next week on Tuesday.
Nice. I'm looking forward to it, man. Looking forward to it.
Well, hopefully this show's been very beneficial for our listeners and viewers out there.
Very educational, eh? But guys, thank you so much for joining us. Like I said, my name is Adam Cooper, and you're joined with my co-host today,
Qasafi Sadiq.
Exactly. Together we are the Peterborough Property Guys.
Stay tuned to Salam Radio after this short ad break.